Hello, test, 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 test. All right, all right, all right. How's everybody doing? How is everybody doing? Sound check. Let me know if you can hear me because we're not going to have the issues we've been having. Let me know if you guys can hear me. All right. Fantastic. Fantastic. It's nice to know that you guys can hear me. All right. All right. So I have a pretty good show for you today. And we're going to jump right into it. Thank you guys for joining me today. And let's start the show off with a video.
With the markets bracing for more potential turmoil this week as a new round of tariffs are set to take effect in just days. This comes after across-the-board 10% tariffs on nearly all imports entering the U.S. went into effect yesterday. President Trump defiant, insisting tariffs will spark an economic revolution, even as stocks plunge and fears of higher prices begin to set in. Joining me now is ABC Capitol Hill correspondent Jay O'Brien with more on this. Jay, President Trump's top economic advisor just told ABC News This Week anchor George Stephanopoulos that 50 countries, more than 50, I think she said, had reached out to negotiate tariffs. What more can you tell us about that and what this means for the new tariffs we're expecting this week? Because we still haven't gotten a real answer from the White House. Is this a negotiating tool or is it not?
And it depends on who you ask, honestly, Phil. The reality here is Kevin Haslett, you're right, just told George on This Week that in his understanding, he's been told that around 50 countries, more than 50 perhaps, have reached out to try to negotiate some kind of a trade deal as a result of these tariffs.
Okay, so if you don't know by now, Trump is off to a terrific start. More than 50 countries, actually, now since I've dove into, finding the information. Now over 80 countries have contacted him at the White House to begin discussions with trade agreements. And if you listen to the left, they're going to tell you, oh, Trump is threatening people and then backing off, and this is why the market is changing and all of these other things. First and foremost, tariffs are not necessarily going to affect the market. And the reason why I say that is tariffs are a duty on imports, not a tax like they present, with the media. And a duty is a different animal because you don't get to negotiate, as these 80 plus countries are trying to do. You don't get to negotiate taxes. Taxes are what they are. So these tariffs are being implemented to create a negotiation. And this is doing exactly what Trump said he wanted it to do out the gate. But if you listen to the left-leaning media outlets, they're going to tell you, oh, he's backed out and he's kowtowed to these other countries to get what they want done. And that's not the case. You don't implement something when the purpose of that thing you're implementing was to create a negotiation out the gate. So the Asian markets right now are in flux. And as you can see here, Trump compares tariffs to medicine as the Asian markets convulse. And as we go through this, you're going to see how he has affected all of these countries. We have Taiwan coming in negotiations and asking Trump, yo, listen, bro, can you remove these tariffs? And if you do it, we'll go 0 for 0. And there's a bunch of different metrics that are going on here as to why they want to go 0 for 0. The whole purpose is from here on out, like, you can keep those old tariffs, but these new tariffs, please just, hey, we will do better. Please, whatever you will do for us, we will do better. Hold on 1 second. Let's see. 1 second here. Okay. I thought something was bugged up. All right, cool. And people are not wanting what is going on with this situation because it's not a good situation for them, but it is a good situation for us. We would feel it initially if Trump were to go double down, triple down on these tariffs and say, we're going to do it anyway. Even though you want to negotiate, though that's kind of like extortion, I'm going to do it anyway. We would feel it for a while, but they would feel it more than we would. So here, again, in another article, He's calling these tariffs a medicine. And it really is, because it's getting people to act right. Whereas over the years, the United States has constantly, been at the beck and call of other nations. And people don't look at it as Trump's doing a good job. They're looking at it as he's trying to, ruin our country per se. And that is really not the case. So we have Vietnam, Taiwan, Argentina, and Zimbabwe all wanting to suspend tariffs or go zero tariffs to avoid these blanket tariffs from the United States. And this has been unprecedented. No other time in history has a blanket tariff been implemented and had the results that it's having now. And it really is a good thing. And we give a hats off to Argentina for being the first to say, hey, we will go zero tariffs, Mr. Trump, if you will just stop this. And as you can see here, the tariffs are already being levied against these countries. They're just bending the knee left and right. And the legacy left-leaning media says, oh, Trump backed out on this and he's weak on tariffs. He said he was going to do it. He's not doing it. But he's really just being a man of his word and genuine and getting the results that he wanted. And we're going to see the markets continue to do what they're doing now, as you see here. Check this out. So this was yesterday. As of yesterday, the S&P up, gold. The Dow up, gold. The NASDAQ up, gold. All of these things are up as a result of these tariffs. And the left-leaning media is telling us that Trump is creating these high influxes of dropping and raising the stock market to create insider trading. It's kind of strange because you guys weren't against insider trading when Nancy Pelosi was doing it and all the other congressmen and women were doing it, but you're against it now, all because Republicans are investing into the market. Marjorie Taylor Greene, $275,000, and she's made out clean. You're against insider trading now because you think that's what Trump is doing, when in all actuality, he's doing good business. What you guys do is sell out the American people by way of taxes so that you make out and we suffer. Well, that time is long gone and over with, and hopefully the Democrats continue to be against insider trading so we can shut that crap down in the Congress, because that's where it's really rampant at. I mean, for God's sakes, Nancy Pelosi is worth $240 million with no businesses. How does that work? Where does that work at? Whereas Marjorie Taylor Greene, as the left screams saying she's doing insider trading, she's worth $15 million just in her businesses alone, and all of her other ventures total out to be roughly $22.5 million net worth. So where's the problem? She has a business and is a millionaire. Nancy Pelosi is a millionaire because of what they're doing to the United States people. So moving on, the world markets are convulsing. As you can see here, we have the Japanese stock market and its performance over the past few weeks. You see it shooting up, shooting down, shooting up, and then Trump tariffs plummet. And this is a comparison to the United States, the UK, Germany, China, and it gets better because they just keep coming down. They're losing all of these points, and the United States markets are going up. So who's really losing here? Investors are investing in the U.S. again, finally, and I don't think this is going to stop. I think this is going to be a pretty good bull run. So if you're going to want to invest anytime soon, you might want to do it now. So this is the world's markets as of the first of last week. Hong Kong, negative 13%. Taiwan, negative 9. Japan, negative 9. Italy, negative 8. Singapore, 8, negative 8. These are all negatives from all the world's major economies, all negative. Whilst the United States is going up. So I don't think Trump is doing the things that people say he's doing, but I can tell you what, we're not feeling it like the left thought and said we would, or said we are feeling it. In more economic news, Klaus Schwab. One second. There you go. Klaus Schwab is announcing that he's stepping down from the WEF, and that is the World Economic Forum. He's doing it by 2029. So the real question is, what does this mean? Who will replace him? And honestly, who is Klaus Schwab? Being that he is the founder of the WEF, and he's been doing this for 55 years. That's a long time. This guy is old. And his current role in this was, the bigwig, the telling what to do, telling how to do, where to do, when to do. And this timeline is kind of fishy because we see Trump making the moves he's making, and we see this guy that is the head of the World Economic Forum pulling out. I wonder why. I wonder what he knows that no one else seems to know. But Klaus Schwab's background is he created the WEF and the platform for global leaders to discuss economic and social issues, which why the government discuss social issues is beyond me because they have nothing to do with it. But it is what it is. His leadership has been marked as one of the initiatives aimed at addressing global challenges, including climate change, which we know climate changes, but it's a farce for them to make money and us not, and economic inequality. The future of the WEF is in transition of leadership, which raises questions about the future of who will be the head of it, how or if it will continue, and if the new leadership comes in, what direction they will take it. Because again, the guy that created it is backing out. Now, getting to know the man, Klaus Schwab, like I was mentioning earlier, it's kind of iffy. If you listen to his name already sounds very, very, as you say, 1930s, 1940s Nazi Germany-ish. That thing that everybody's going crazy about with Elon. Well, Klaus Schwab was born March 30th, 1938. Yeah, 1938. His parents moved from Switzerland to Germany during the Third Reich in order to, further their financial career with a company. I think it's Escher Weiss AG Industrial Company, which was a contractor for the Nazi regime. So I wonder what type of mentality Mr. Klaus Schwab has. Something to think about, something to chew on and move forward on. But as you see the world crumbling under Trump's implementation of tariffs and pausing of tariffs to negotiate, you see other world leaders, I guess you could say, in the economic world backing out like Klaus Schwab. In other news, Ursula from the EU, as far as tariffs go, Ursula, the EU president, says that Trump's tariffs may not be a bad thing. And the reason for that being is I believe they see the need for change. And globalism is not the it thing. We see what's happening in the EU now, which we'll talk more about later with this globalist agenda and how allowing that globalist agenda will ruin your country. But we'll get to that later. Moving on, we got Taiwan. Taiwan is seeking a partnership with the United States because China is just all over them, like white on rice and stink on doo-doo, and they're pushing them into a scary positions. Taiwan's National Security Council head came to talk to the United States as China is amping up their military training. But they're not just amping up their military training, they're doing it right next door to Taiwan. Kind of like hey, we're going to give you a show of force that if you don't stop negotiating with the U.S., this is what you're going to have to deal with. Well, their security head, Joseph Wu, says, well, we got something for that. We're going to keep talk with the United States and see if we can't get this crap shut down. So the purpose of the visit is part of a meeting referred to as the Special Channel, aimed at discussing security matters for Taiwan and maybe even strengthening the partnership with Taiwan. As we saw a couple of weeks ago, Taiwan agreed to build a chips factory in the United States. The visit comes shortly after China conducted the military exercises, as I mentioned earlier, and the discussions are expected were expected to discuss the focus of Taiwan security and its relationship going on in the future with the United States. And what that will do is give you a pretty good development for geopolitics in the future. Taiwan would be an excellent partner if we can get them to commit to this and really solidify it through contract. And then we won't have much to worry about as far as those chips, the CHIPS Act that Joseph Robinette Biden put into place that wasn't supposed to have any showing until, 10 years from now. Well, Trump's getting it done now, and not at the behest and expense of the American people, which is a beautiful thing. It's a very, very beautiful thing. But moving on from that, we have the pipeline. This is a bid for the Panama pipe. I'm just joking. Stop. Panama opens up bidding for the LPG pipeline, and as a response to the Panama Canal ACP Authority, which is the authority for Panama Canal, they're opening up the bidding to see who can come in and give the right numbers to gain control over this. Last week we saw China was stepping in to try to stop the taking over by BlackRock of the ports in Panama. Well, now we have a new venture, which is this pipeline. The pipeline is going to be about a 50-mile interoceanic or interoceanic pipeline designed to liquefy the petroleum gas and move it from one area to the other, which would, if we could get our hands on this, would greatly reduce the cost of petroleum for us, for the United States, because we would have a say in it. So this would also bolster the relationship we have between Panama and the United States. And I think if we are able to procure this, then we will see a reducing of tariffs and a bettering of the partnership, because as a show of good faith, we get this pipeline, we drop tariffs, Panama is going to be happy. Everybody's going to be happy. The United States is going to be happy because prices are going to come down for the people, and the United States stands to gain as they make sales to other people around the world. The purpose of this, for this whole pipeline, is to facilitate the discharge of the LPG vessels at one end of the canal, which would allow tankers to pick up cargo and other fuel and make everything really, really easy. We also have, I believe, Pete Hegseth went there. And it's kind of like a coincidental thing that Pete Hegseth was going there right in response to this bidding. But he is head of security, so we don't know how that's going to, or the Secretary of Defense, so we don't know how that's going to play out with him going there. But I can almost guarantee it's a wolf in sheep's clothing type move by the United States, because they send him there with a delegation really and truly to discuss the pipeline. And I can almost bet that they're going to be saying, hey, we can offer you protection. We can help you out here. If you give us this pipeline, not only will it benefit you financially, it'll benefit you, militarily, because the military is always being flexed in the United States as a, I guess you could say, as a bargaining chip, which I don't really particularly care for, because I think that the military should be for the United States only. But the way things are shaping up and heading out right now, we need all the help we can get in the fight against China, because it's not a military fight against China that we have to worry about, or even a cyber attack from China we have to worry about. Because again, you'll hear it from me first. Russia's not the enemy. China is. China has always been the enemy. Russia has been allied with us over the centuries, whereas China's always fundamentally since the start been against us. So the fight is against China. China has ramped up their production. They've ramped up their tariffs. They've ramped up their squeeze and stranglehold on the overall control of trade routes. So the only way for them to really beat us out is to beat us at the trading poles. So if we can secure these deals with Panama and with all these other countries like Taiwan and Argentina and Zimbabwe, and really just get a stranglehold of our own in these areas, it will slow the progression of China's takeover in the world. And this is the ultimate goal. We don't want China to have the control that they have, because we know that China's pro-slave labor and everybody and their mama is against slave labor. At least we would hope that would be the case. But the problem I see here is a lot of leftists, especially Democrats, liberals, are pro-slave labor as long as they get to keep their iPhones at a cheap price. But they don't want to pay that extra $200-$300 that it would cost if it were manufactured here in the United States, because really and truly, they say they care about people and the world, but they only care about what they care about as long as they get what they want. And the moment you start stepping on their feet and taking things that they want, they get ornery. That's the best way to put it. They get ornery and they want to fight back and tell you that you're a fascist and all these other things, when in all actuality, they're the ones displaying the fascist behavior. Speaking of fascists, we have a Muslim takeover in the United States. And you might think this might be a joke, especially when I tell you where this takeover is happening at. As you can see by the graphic here, Texas, it's not a joke. And later on in the show, I will tell you why it's not a joke. So they are building cities and centers and attempting to use religious exemptions to avoid the policies, codes, and statutes of Texas and the local governments inside of Texas to have these cities operate under Sharia law. First and foremost, the only law in the United States of America is the Constitution, treaties, and the laws that are created by the Congress of the United States. Their laws are not laws. They don't exist here. They're not okay here. It's your law is not our law, and it can't exist here. But for whatever reason, it seems to be this contention that it's okay for them to do this. So check out this video. This is the mosque they built.
South of downtown Dallas, in a quiet suburban city, sits the biggest masjid in the Lone Star State of Texas.
Welcome to the biggest masjid in Texas.
It has the biggest parking capacity in America, with 814 designated vehicle parking spots. By land, the masjid sits on a 10-acre site, and the masjid itself is a 51,000 square feet, two-story building, praying capacity of 3,500 people.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
MashaAllah, one of the most beautiful masajid in the United States.
Most of the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex
I
masajid.
think it's, there you go, my bad. It's playing twice. I apologize for that. So as you can see, they're not playing around. These people have constructed this in a matter of a couple of years, and they're taking over entire areas. They're not even kind of sort of doing it. They're just like, hey, we own this land. We're doing it now. And enacting our law in America, and America can't tell us how we can operate, but we will usurp American law and authority how we see fit. That's not how that works. If you want Sharia law to be accepted in the United States, you have to enter a treaty. And the United States is the home of the land of the free and the home of the brave. We're not going to give up freedom for slavery and fascism and control, authoritarianism, all the things that are wrong with what it is to be of the Islamic faith. We're not giving up America to that. So if you want that, you might want to keep it in your home and stop trying to take over cities and towns and stuff like that, because we are not Europe. We are not Europe. So speaking of, moving on, we'll get back to that whole Muslim takeover here in a second. But the FBI director is leading the charge against Chinese influence in the United States of America, because that's a real problem. As you can see, Kash Patel is not playing games. So we have multiple fronts in which the United States is being attacked. We're being attacked both economically by the world. We're being attacked from our own one of our own parties in the United States. We have Muslims trying to move in and take over, and we have the Chinese influence coming in and trying to take over. And it's just not good. It's really, really not good. So more and more politicians in states are bringing light to this, not just at the federal level, and more representatives within states are bringing attention to it, and it needs to be brought to the people, because if it stays hush hush, these countries will continue to do what they're doing, and these belief systems will continue to do what they're doing. For example, the CCP has been in our military for a while now. I mean, not kind of, sort of, but for a while. Let's check out North Carolina Representative Pat Haring.
What if I told you that there is a company owned by the Chinese Communist Party, independently operating over 80 retail stores on United States military bases? Let me be clear. A foreign adversary has a physical, ongoing presence on our military installations, inside the wire, with possible access to our personnel and their information. These stores are not directly monitored by the Department of Defense, and they are run with limited federal oversight. They are independently staffed, supplied, and managed by GNC, a national nutrition and supplement retailer that is now entirely owned and controlled by a hostile federal government. And every single day, American service members walk through their doors. They scan their IDs, they swipe their credit cards, they provide phone numbers, emails, and home addresses. They enroll in loyalty programs. Some even hand over sensitive health information through supplement consultations. All of that data is collected by a company that is owned by the Chinese government. This is not just about names and addresses. It's about...
Okay. As you can see there, he makes a pretty good case as to why these people shouldn't be here doing what they're doing. And it gets worse. It's not only that they own 80 retail stores, GNC stores, which are visited by multiple hundreds of thousands of military personnel and whatnot, and collecting their information and collecting what they take and what they don't take, what they like, what they don't like. That's not even the biggest issue. The issue is that a Chinese owned and operated company is allowed to operate within the confines of the U.S. military. The U.S. military on U.S. soil should be one of the most protected things ever. But under the Biden administration, we were caught with our pants down, because not only did they sneak in with, GNC coming into the United States and being taken over by China and collecting every single military personnel on base's information, not just their financial information, but what they like, what they don't like, getting email addresses and all that good stuff. They've also been taking over land. It's been pretty perplexing, because they are working a multi-front attack, and where our soldiers are being left out to dry, but also our states have been left out to dry. Missouri AG is taking the land back that China has purchased. Not just China, but the CCP. The Chinese government has bought land in the United States, and wrong one right there. So the numbers are a little bit off here. They're actually owning more property, but they own property, specifically farmland, in over 29 states. You're looking at roughly about 349,000 acres total as of last year that they own. And Missouri seems to be the only state that's out here seizing Chinese assets and farmland that they purchased. And nobody else seems to have a word in edgewise about this not being okay. Now, whilst the federal government cannot intervene in this matter, which they really should, but I digress, the states can. And we see Missouri doing a very, very good job. And they're even seeking, like I mentioned before a couple of weeks ago, seeking reparations for the pandemic, because they're blaming China for this. But it's crazy that more states aren't being proactive like Missouri. I mean, for God's sakes, they own farmland in 29 states. What is one of America's biggest things? Agriculture. And our agriculture is being attacked because it's being owned by people that don't care about us, don't like us, and actually are fundamentally an enemy to us. And ask yourself, do you really want foreign nations owning your land? And it's up to the other 28 states to step in and follow Missouri's lead to shut this crap down. Otherwise, we're going to be in a world of hurt. And China is excellent at attacking at multiple fronts because they have the manpower to do so. So America has to be vigilant. Otherwise, we're going to lose. Really and truly, it's pretty that Pretty much that simple. But you know who's not losing? Donald Trump's not losing. Check this out.
We're getting some breaking news at this hour coming out of the Supreme Court. The U.S. Supreme Court has handed President Trump a victory, letting him and his administration use the 1798 law that historically has been employed only in wartime to swiftly deport alleged Venezuelan gang members as part of the Republican president's hardline approach to immigration, granting that administration request to lift the Washington-based U.S. judge James Boasberg's March 15th order that had temporarily blocked the summary deportations under the Alien Enemies Act while litigation in the case continues. So the Supreme Court has weighed in. Let's start there with our panel. Let's bring in our panel. Susan Page, Washington Bureau Chief at USA Today, Washington Post columnist, American Enterprise Institute Senior Fellow Mark Thiessen, and Sabrina Singh, former Pentagon Deputy Press Secretary. Mark, we assumed the Supreme Court was going to get active here soon on some of these cases. This seems like the first, and they're saying not only a pause to bring back that one man that they say they deported erroneously, but this is just allowing them to continue their deportation process.
Yeah, this is a big victory for Trump in the new lawfare. So the old lawfare was try to destroy Donald Trump, 91 indictments, 2 impeachments, civil suits to destroy him and all the rest of it. That all failed. He won the election and came back stronger than ever. And so the new lawfare is to try and stop him from implementing his agenda through a miasma of court cases. And this was a perfect example of it. And the Supreme Court is now allowing him to use this law. So this is a first victory in the fight against the new lawfare.
Yeah. That lawfare crap, that's out the door. And truth and what's that word? Not maladministration, but the opposite of maladministration is taking place now. We are actually having the Constitution being implemented as it should be, and we are winning. We are winning. The people are winning. This is not just a Trump victory. This is because the supreme Trump victories are great, but this is a victory for the United States people. And as you can see, it's not going to stop, and it's a beautiful thing. So he gets the 5-4 victory over DEI, as Baxter would say. He is also claiming victory over the whole Sedition Act and the federal workers. So Trump is honestly not playing any games with this. And I've been calling this left and right as to what would take place and how it would be handled and how it would go. And a lot of people are like, oh, you're wrong. This is not going to work out like this. You don't know anything about the Constitution. 3 for 3. And technically, the whole spending thing, USAID thing, he kind of sort of partially won that as well, where he gets to dictate how that spending goes. So Trump is not losing. He's winning. And what's crazy is the left-leaning outlets and liberal media outlets are finding ways to spin it to make it still look bad. This man could cure cancer. This man could cure every disease on the planet, make sure your mama on her deathbed don't die because you're crying at her feet, mama, don't leave me. He could have her resurrected from the grave, and they would still find a way to make him be the enemy. But really and truly, he is doing more for the U.S. people than any other president has ever. That includes George Washington. That includes Abraham Lincoln, because really and truly, Abraham Lincoln didn't want to free the slaves. He didn't care. It was all about politics to him. This is not a political game for Trump. This is a America First agenda for Trump. And why not? Every other country in the world is their own country first. It seems, except for us. Except for us. We're the only country that's not America first. Or yeah, I said it right. We're not America first. We give. And now it's finally that we stop giving and keep for ourselves and take what we rightfully deserve. Otherwise, we can end up like more of a Muslim takeover with what's going on in England. Muslim mayors have taken over London, Birmingham, Leeds, Blackburn, Sheffield, Oxford, Luton, Oldham, Rochdale, and more. They have all taken over the mayorship of all these areas. This is literally a population of 4 million people that were allowed in because no borders, globalism, let everybody in, love. We love these people. 4 million people have overturned and turned out and flipped upside down a population of 66 million people because they got caught with their pants down, not paying attention. While these people were going in with an agenda, they came in and took over the majority. 66 million people got overrun by 4 million people. They have built over 3,000 mosques in a matter of 5-6 years. They've literally implemented Sharia courts, and this is what they want to do in Texas. And if we don't stay vigilant, they will do this, and they will do it with precision. That one thing that these people do is they're very precise, especially when they explode. But they implemented Sharia courts and councils. They have over 130 of these courts. They've implemented 50 plus Sharia councils all throughout all of these places where they have mayors at. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the head of education over there is a Muslim that got elected. And I ain't talking about kind of sort of Muslim. I mean full-blown Muslim. Islamic, everything. The employment and welfare of these people in England, the Muslim women, roughly about 78% of them don't work and they receive benefits. That's crazy. And as the general population, 23% total of the 4 million don't work and receive benefits, men and women. Their children are receiving all the benefits. It's like welfare on cocaine. Crack. Hunter Biden did crack. It's like welfare on crack over there. And they have implemented this Sharia law curriculum in their schools. Every UK school has mandated that they teach about Islam. Every UK school, not just in England, all of the UK, all those countries, Ireland, England, Britain, all of them are teaching this. And the number one name, baby name, can anybody take a guess? Any of you take a guess out there what the number one baby name right now to date in England is? Yeah, Muhammad, because you know they love their holy man, the one that likes to play with little girls, that couldn't read but wrote a book, the Quran, couldn't read but can write. That's crazy. But I digress on that. I don't want to, beat up on the Muslims too much, but whatever, it is what it is. But England has been taken over, and they're trying to do that in the United States. We have China knocking down our farmland and taking over our military by getting information. And if we're worried about cybersecurity threats, that is the number one way to do it, because they're giving you all the information to China. We got, if that's not bad enough, we got the Muslims beaten down in Texas, and Texas is supposed to be, you don't mess with Texas. Well, Texas, you better pull your pants up, get your boots strapped, and get ready to clap, because if not, you're going to get taken over. And I would hate to see Texas fall, because if Texas falls, the morale of the United States is going to fall. It really, really is. And in our last tidbit of information, the mayor of New York has switched sides. He has left the Democratic Party. He has left the Democratic Party. It's no longer vote blue no matter who. This man said, F that, I don't want to go to jail. So he switched and jumped ship. Bravo. I mean, hopefully he gets voted out, but I'm proud of him for making the right decision. He is definitely someone that is trying to protect himself, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, if you want to protect yourself, do you, boo-boo. But I definitely appreciate you guys, coming in week after week and allowing me to deliver you this information. And again, it's not about being first, it's about being right. And if I ever am coming out to be first, you guys correct me. I will leave that up to you. But I appreciate you. I love you. And I hope to see you next time. Make sure you aren't one of the ones that miss the forest for the trees. Hope you have a good one. Appreciate it.